Put on this computer. All right, we're recording. Welcome, folks, Judith, Sharon, and Wendy. This is actually the fourth iteration of the Introduction to Teaching with Canvas course. Part of our fall training efforts to help faculty who are teaching online get prepared for Canvas as we switch over. We make the official switch over to Canvas on January 2nd, 2018, which I believe is the start of the fall intersession. So just to be clear, as of spring 2018, starting January 2nd, you will no longer be able to use Blackboard for your students. So what district is doing is they're taking your ability away to make the course available in the Blackboard. So you can upload as much content as you want in your Blackboard course for the spring semester, but you'll have no way to publish it. You must use Canvas. Now, what they will do for the spring semester is they'll still give you the ability and time throughout the semester to download any content that you want to get off of Blackboard, whether it be your grade book or your files, tests, discussions, other than that. But again, I'm going to reiterate, you will not be able to use Blackboard for the spring 2018 semester. Excuse me, I had a phone call come in. Let me deny that real quick. So with that, we want to get you started on this course. And to help us out, Michael Stewart from the AOJ Department, Administration of Justice Department, he's going to be our facilitator for today. He's going to give you an orientation on how to access Canvas, how to use, navigate the Canvas user interface, and the expectations of the course. Michael did a fantastic job and helped the Distance Education Department out, helping us with some training over the summer semester, and he's agreed to so gracefully help us for our efforts in the fall. So I thank Michael for that. And right now I'm going to go ahead and make Michael the host, and then he's going to start off our official orientation for today. Also, before I do that, if you folks, I understand all of you are muted. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat box. I'm going to have the chat box open. Type reply yes if you see this. I just typed a quick message, reply yes if you see this. Hopefully, yeah, okay, good. So if you have any questions in regards to what Michael is covering, you can go ahead and ask them there, and then I will be watching them. And I'll stop Michael and we'll address some questions. So to be clear for this, for our time together with the Introduction to Canvas workshop, Michael Stewart is going to be the lead instructor for the course. So any questions you have in regards to Canvas or the Canvas course in general, please direct your questions to Michael. I will only be serving as a backup to Michael if he needs me to fill in or provide any other assistance to supplement his schedule. But other than that, Michael is going to be leading the show. So with that being said, let me turn it over and make Michael the host.
All right.
You are now the host, Michael, and you can go ahead and get started.
All right, thank you, Chris, and thanks for the accolades earlier. So a brief introduction before we dive into some content. I've been teaching here at Grossmont College into my 5th year now. I teach in Administration of Justice primarily, and then this semester I'm fortunate enough to help with one section in political science. So when we learned that we were moving over to Canvas, and I think it's been about 18 months, 2 years ago now, I approached Chris and Janet Gelb and asked, how can I participate in piloting Canvas, and then also come to this point where I'm facilitating courses for my peers. They were nice enough to give me some tips and tricks. And so fast forward to today, I've gone through 3 courses like this Intro to Canvas. 2 were facilitated, 1 was on my own. I've completed a 12-week course on best practices and standards in online education, and then I also completed a course called the Peer Online Course Reviewer, which uses a rubric designed by the California State Chancellor's Office and the online education initiative to kind of evaluate courses in an online environment. So, that's kind of the framework I'm coming at with Canvas. I used Canvas all last spring exclusively. I'm using it now to teach out of, and I have this semester I'm teaching 6 sections, and so I use it for both live and online courses. And so far, so good. Everything's going really, really well. There's not been any real hiccups that I could talk about, and I think as you learn about it, you'll be really happy with using it. Obviously, like the elephant in the room is this is cumbersome to learn how to use Canvas, especially in the middle, we're in the 7th week of the fall semester. So as we move along, I'm going to try to make this as painless as possible for you, and then also remind you of, this is a good opportunity to get ahead for the spring and get those courses out and running. So also, I wanted to tell you too, before I came to Grossmont College, I was a police officer and a probation officer, and I did that for about 15 years. And, so I had 0 technical skills as a police officer and a probation officer. And if I could figure this out, I think we all can do it. And then lastly, I think it's important for us to note, today, current events, there's horrible stuff going on in Las Vegas. And I think we're all thinking about it. I've talked to some of my students about that. I've had 2 students message me saying they have family in the hospital that was shot overnight. So if anytime you got to step away, and take care of some personal business, feel free to do so. And Chris, if you're listening, maybe you could help me out. I'm getting a message from Joe that he can't get the audio to work on his desktop. So I don't know if you could maybe chat with him on the side and see if you can help him out. So
Perfect. I'll take a look at it.
Okay, so today, for the next about hour, 15 minutes, we're going to look at the course, this Intro to Teaching with Canvas, and then how to do some basic navigation in Canvas. We're going to look at our kind of like our rules for the course. It's a 5-week course. There are some completion expectations and requirements. The course has been modified just slightly since I taught it over the summer. I'm going to try to cover the modifications, and if not, that's why Chris is here to just remind us all of these expectations. So in doing that, I have some notes up on another screen. I might glance to my left on occasion, and it's just to look at some notes. So I apologize if that distracts you. As Chris mentioned, if you have any questions as we move along, please use the chat function, and we could see it light up and get to your questions as soon as possible. And then just one last reminder, this entire session is being recorded. What we do is after the session's over, I will get it into Canvas uncaptioned initially, and then we send it off to somebody at this. It's a grant run by the state chancellor's office to caption it, and usually that takes 24 to 48 hours. So if you miss something that I'm talking about, or you want to look at it again, the video will be up hopefully within a few hours after this session's over. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is share my screen, and I'm going to just drop right into Canvas. So excuse me while I share my screen. And here we are, logging into Canvas. And I think we should all be able to see that. Do you see it?
No, I do not see your screen.
Okay, let me get back in there. Sorry, folks. Sharing the screen. I'm going to try one more time, and here we go. Is that better? Not yet. There we go.
Well, 1 second. There we go. I see it now.
Okay. So I'm actually, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to go into the Grossmont College homepage, because that's one way, and probably the most common way, we're going to access Canvas while we're using it. So you can see as I navigate to the kind of like the top right 1/3 of the screen, there is a Canvas button. I'm going to go ahead and click on that once, and it should redirect us to Canvas. And then again, looking at our URL, if you want to deploy it that way out to your students, or you want to somehow capture it, you just need the HTTPS and then the slashes and gccccd.instructure.com. This is important to remember if you're going to go mobile. If you're going to go mobile and use the Canvas Teacher app, which we'll talk about as the course goes on, you'll need to know what instance of Canvas we're using, and that's that gccccd. But here I am in the Canvas logon page for our district. This is my web advisor username, and then I am using my 8-digit birth date, which you can change if you'd like, but initially that's your first logon, and that'll be the same for our students. So I'm going to go ahead and click log on. And it's thinking about letting me in. And here we are. So Canvas opens up into what we refer to as a dashboard. And you could already see how different this looks than Blackboard looks. It's, I think, a lot more visually appealing. And you can see there's quite a bit going on here, but it's really, really easy to understand. So I want to start by just kind of talking about some of this navigation issues. So I'm on the far left part of my screen. It's a purple colored vertical bar, and at the top you see like a G and the Cuyamaca logo. And then right below there you see a picture of me. It's maybe a little smaller. And then this clock, or actually that's like an odometer or a speedometer to represent like a car dashboard. And then you have a textbook, calendar, an inbox. This is for a commons area, and then a question mark. And that's what we call like our global navigation bar in Canvas. So there's some really important features that come out of this global navigation, like getting to our dashboard and getting to our profile. So I want to start here by just clicking, we're already on the dashboard, but I want to show you how we can access all of our courses in another fashion. So I clicked on the little school book, and you could see the bar kind of turned white to highlight it, and then you drop down into all these classes. And lucky for us, what just dropped into Canvas overnight was all of our spring offerings. So no sleep for the weary, right? We're ready to go for spring. I guess all the the line sheets were uploaded and so on and so forth. So I'm going to scroll down on this courses list, and I'm going to come to our course, which is CTF3 Introduction to Teaching with Canvas, and I'm going to click on that once. And here we are into our course. So that's one way to access it. And then I'm actually going to take a step back to our dashboard. Second icon down on our global navigation bar. I'm going to click on that dashboard. And you can see all these dashboard tiles populate. And then I'm going to scroll down past my Spring 18 offerings, and you could see here, most of us should have this dashboard tile with the Canvas icon in it, and it says CTF3 Introduction to Teaching with Canvas. We just click on that once to get into our course. Okay, so how are we doing so far? We're doing good, I think. Everyone's with me. Yeah, we're doing good. Okay, so continuing down our global navigation bar, there's a calendar feature that is really robust, and I'm clicking on that to try to get us into it. And again, it's kind of nice. We know where we're at because it's highlighted with this white color here. So I have the calendar set up right now only to show courses, or excuse me, assignments and dates that are respective to our course, the Intro to Teaching in Canvas. And this is a nice way for you to see what some of the expectations are going to be for the course, and then when our due dates are, and when you need to submit work. So working from the top of the screen, left to right, you can see I could click on today, and it'll bring me into what are we doing today, just a straight up look at October 2nd. And it seems like either my mouse isn't working or the network's moving a little slow today. But anyways, you click on that, and then as you scroll to the right, you can see I could go back a month, forward a month, and then going all the way to the right, we could look at it in a week view, which I just clicked on. So what's going on during this week, Sunday to Saturday. Back to our month view, an agenda view, which is really a nice way to line everything up. And if you're going to want to print, maybe you're going to want to print out what we're doing in the course. This is one way you'd want to look at your calendar. And then scheduler is a function that we're going to talk about later in the course. And this is a way you can let third parties, such as students, get into your course and schedule appointments with you. So I'm going to go back to this month view. And again, just reiterate, this is a good way, one way to see what we're doing in the course and what will be due. All right. I'm going to go back to our left global navigation bar just to kind of show you what some of our options are. Now, I hesitate to open this only because I see this is like a Canvas specific messaging system, and it's a good way to get out of using Outlook Mail with our students and people and folks enrolled in the course. Matter of fact, from here on out in our course, I'd ask that we communicate strictly through this Canvas Conversations tool. They call it a Conversations tool. So I'm going to click on it and just cross my fingers that there's nothing.
Michael, why don't you hold off on that? When you're done with your presentation and you switch it back over to me, I'll talk on mine because I know I don't want to give any student information.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. And then continuing down past that, we go into our Commons, which is just a great resource to find tools that you can use in your courses that are not licensed. These are like free for us to use. We don't have to worry about copyright issues. And you could see on my screen, there's this a message that is up for me saying the course Grossmont Canvas template was updated on September 7th. So I know this is something that Chris has developed for all of us to use. Predominantly if you're teaching an on-ground course and you'd like to have a nice clean way to use Canvas for on-ground courses, keeping them well organized. There's a way that you can just kind of rip this into your instance of Canvas, and we'll look at how to do that later in the semester as well. And then the last thing is this little question mark, which is the Canvas help area. So one of my big gripes when we were using Blackboard or when I was using it is just finding help and finding solutions. I had a really hard time finding first party, so Blackboard specific help online. That is not the case with Canvas. Their help tools and their guides, as they call them, the Canvas guides, are extremely user-friendly, very robust. Pretty much any question you have, the answer will probably be in either an instructor-specific guide or possibly the student-specific guide. And usually if you're going to ask me a question in this course that I may not know the answer to, or a student will ask me a Canvas like navigation type question, I will go into the Canvas guides to find the answer. So this is under our help tool, and this is a really wonderful thing to remember. Scrolling down, there's some other things like if you have a neat idea that you think Canvas should incorporate, you can let the Canvas community and Instructure, the parent company, know about. Ask the community. That's like asking your peers. So sometimes in your courses, you might have like a Q&A form or an Ask the Instructor form. It's the same idea, but speaking globally, ask the community if you have an issue. And then lastly, and this is the one we want to emphasize here, call for help. So I'm going to click on call for help to take you into what are we doing if we need help in Canvas beyond what the Canvas guide gives us, or we just can't find the answer using like internet searches. What do we do? Technical issues in Canvas. Call Canvas 24-hour, 7-day-a-week phone support, and each campus has a different phone number. This number, as it highlights here, it's to support students and faculty. And I have called this number, the 1-844-600-4953. I have called it numerous times. And I've called very late into the night and very early in the morning. They are extremely helpful, very responsive. And why are we doing this? Well, the district is, part of the contract with Canvas is for this help feature. You guys already may know, but our on-campus team for distance education is limited to 2 people, and there's no way they would be able to field every single technical and support issue that we have. So this is a really good tool for us to have, and we really want you to spread it out to students. We want you to use it, and it could be something as simple as like, hey, I can't log on well, call Canvas 24/7 support, and they're going to be able to help you out. Okay, so it's a really good function to have. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, so we've gone through our global navigation bar, and I think we're good at this point. Are there, do we have
No
any
questions.
questions? Okay, okay, so we're moving along, and I'm going to go back into our course. So I'm going again to the left global navigation bar. I'm going to the dashboard, and my dashboard should populate here in a second, all of our dashboard tiles. And I'm going to go scroll down into our course, Introduction to Teaching with Canvas. So here we are back into CTF3. So as Chris already emphasized more than once, we need to be out of Blackboard by January 2, 2018. And when we say be out of Blackboard, that means you cannot teach out of Blackboard. Students will no longer have access to it. So we need to make sure that our we're functioning in Canvas and using it for our students. And I'm just checking, I have a message here, so I'm going to check it out. Okay. So this is what our course looks like, and the features that we have here are going to look the same throughout Canvas, so it's kind of nice. Students will pretty much have the same look and feel for any course across disciplines using Canvas. Some of the tools that we have in Canvas you cannot change. You can maybe make them so they're not visible, but you cannot add your own sidebar titles or links. It's just kind of like a standard fit, one size fits all. Okay, so excuse me again.
I'm just typing.
Okay, okay. So let's look at this. Okay, so we're going to go into the start here link. I'm scrolling down. I'm like middle of the page, about 2/3 of the way down. We see this thing that says start here. It's a blue link. Start here, getting started orientation. I'm going to actually start us there, and then I'm going to work our way back to our front page or our home page to talk about some navigation issues, because starting here is going to answer a lot of our questions about the rest of the course. So as you can see, this is the first place we want to begin in our course. And I believe I've already sent out a link to this video on how to get started in Canvas, but we'd reiterate and reinforce that we want you to look at it again. And I'm going to take one step back out, because I'm going to come in here as a student, because there's some little tips and tricks I need to show you. So I'm coming back in as a student, starting here. And you could see, okay, first thing I need to do is watch this 11-minute video. And this will probably be the best 11 minutes you spend orientating yourself to this course into Canvas. There's a lot of really good information here to show you how to get around in the course. Now, a nice function that Canvas has that Blackboard does not is we can set prerequisites or requirements within the course that students must do before they can either enter into an area of a course or exit an area of a course. And we've set up that functionality starting right at the beginning of our course. So as you scroll down, okay, I watched the video, I'm reading about what the course is about, some special notes and the final project, and then I want to leave. I'm done, right? I've read it all. I'm ready to go to this. You can see on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, there's this next button. That'll get us to the next part of our orientation. But wait a minute, we want to make sure, it's like a double redundancy. You can see in red here at the bottom, and I'm highlighting it in blue. You need to mark as done that you've read all this information. And the way you do it is you go back to the top. I'm going to scroll to the top, and you can see on the top right, there's this mark as done button. So you can see now green means go, right? Done. So we can move forward. And that's something you could set up with your students as well when you start setting up your Canvas course. So to go back through some of the details of our course, I'm scrolling down to these special notes. Okay. Now, a couple things I'm highlighting in blue. How much time am I going to have to spend in this course over the next 5 weeks? It really depends on maybe your level of technology comfort. How much of your Blackboard course, or how many notes do you have about content in your Blackboard course that maybe you could roll over, copy and paste into Canvas. But let's estimate 5 to 8 hours a week. Okay, for the next 5 weeks. It's piling on to your already busy schedule. I think we all recognize that. But here we are today, and we need to move forward, and it's going to take 5 to 8 hours a week. Okay. Now, as a note here, if as we're moving along, this is just you realize, okay, this is not a good fit right now. There is an option to do this at another time. But again, remember, as it stands right now, this course is a requirement for you to complete before you can access Canvas to provide instruction within Canvas. So I think we're just kind of delaying the inevitable if you're not able to complete it now. So we want to do everything we can to help you succeed during these 5 weeks. And communication will help there. So if we're talking to each other about, hey, I got something going on, or I don't understand something and it's taking a little longer than I thought, let's talk about it so we can get you over that hurdle and get you moving forward. Web browsers, Google Chrome is the preferred browser. Firefox works well at also, but as this is noted, do not use Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge. Canvas will not function properly within those mediums. So stick with Chrome and stick with Firefox. So let's get to the kind of like the punchline of the course. There's a final project. The final project, the goal here is we do not want you to have to reinvent the wheel. So what we're going to ask you to do over the next 5 weeks is put together 2 content units, or modules as we call them in Canvas. We want you to put together 2 modules of online instruction that you will actually use in your own courses. So we're not asking you to do something, just to kind of, for the point of doing it. We are moving you forward in getting ready to use Canvas. So in the end, we're going to ask you to submit to me 2 complete content units or modules within Canvas. And within this course, there is a very robust final project rubric. There are extensive instructions on what is expected for the final project. And then as we move from week to week, we are doing building blocks. So we're scaffolding, kind of like, this leads to this, leads to this. And then in the end, you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, or put all the ingredients of your cake together. And at the end, you're going to have the puzzle done, or you're going to have your cake done. And then you could just, okay, here we go. We're ready to use this in a section of our course. But that's the goal. So with that in mind, as we're doing projects each week, they need to be relevant to a course that you currently teach. And I do not know your discipline. I know administration of justice and Joe Braunworth. I'm kind of pretending I know some political science right now. But all the other disciplines we have on campus, I'm trusting, you, that what you're sending me is relevant to your course. If you send me content for administration of justice, well, then I'll know, well, this isn't correct. But nonetheless, let's make this opportunity worth its time, and, get the work done that we'll use to use Canvas as soon as we can, okay? There is a course syllabus, and we're going to look at that as we scroll through. So how are we doing? We're good on questions still, okay?
Yeah, we're good.
And we're going to click to next. We're going to go to the next page in our orientation, talking about our facilitators. That's me and Chris. I'm going to not bore you with the details there because you already know about us. Here's what we're going to do moving forward with Zoom, which is what we're using now. So every Friday for the duration of this course, and we could do it more if you'd like, we'll get in touch, but we're going to have a Friday morning meeting from using Zoom. And here's our schedule for that right now. These dates are also in our Canvas calendar, so you could have them. I believe I already populated the Canvas calendar with the URL to get into our meetings, but if I haven't, I'll be sure to get you those links about 48 hours before the meeting. So if you would, just block your calendars right now. Every Friday until November 3rd, we're going to meet from 9:30 until 11 in the morning using Zoom like we're doing right now. So it's a real nice way for us to talk about the previous week's work, and then also look at what we're doing moving forward. I'm always open to talking about items that aren't necessarily on an agenda. So if there's something that comes up, send me a message through the Canvas conversation inbox so we can make sure we talk about it. But an hour and a half to talk about what we're doing in the course. Going down here, I'm clicking on next again on the bottom right, moving us through. So here's a great way to stay in touch with what we're doing in the course. So in Blackboard, we had some tools to keep us as well as students in touch with what was going on in the course. Canvas has a really great way to keep us notified of what's going on in the course, but you have to take the initiative to ask Canvas to do it for you. So Canvas notifications are accessed through our course navigation bar. And I think towards the end of this session, when I get out of the student view, I'll take us back into my profile to show you how to activate these notifications. But the goal here is you can push announcements. You can push your conversation inbox to you could text them to you, or you could send them to an email address of your choice. So I basically demand that students send emails, and they send announcement alerts to an email or a text message, so they're not missing out on course happenings. So another thing that's really nice, and we're encouraging faculty do in their classes, is the Canvas guides. The help guides are very, very helpful for students if they know they exist. So as you can see here on the bottom left, it's a green heading, says Canvas Instructor Guide, and then there's two links. How do notification preferences work? And then how do I set my notification preferences? These are links directly to Canvas guides, and we would like you to include these on pages, content units, assignments that are relevant in your course. So again, kind of like teaching by doing, we really want you to set these links up, and in the end, what does it do? It eliminates a lot of questions for us as faculty. Hey, student, the answer's there. You just got to click on the link and you'll figure out what you need. So once again, you can see, hey, mark the page done before you can leave. So I'm going to click that. Green means go. Next. All right. All right, so as we move through our orientation, you can see this is one of the first items that you will need to complete in our course. And it's within our orientation unit. And it's discussion of it's a discussion, and you're introducing yourself. Now I want to point out, we haven't talked about this, but you can see there's a 0.5, and everything we've looked at up until this point had like 0.1, 0.2. When we move into Unit 1, you'll see 1.1, 1.2. This is a system of chaptering or indexing content within the course. One, for very, very practical reason, it helps the instructor keep the course organized. So if you're working through the course, or you want a student to work through the course sequentially, there's a specific order. You can label things essentially 1 through 10 or 1 through 15, and students know, hey, work through the unit that way. Also, in a really practical application here is a student gets a hold of you. Hey, instructor, I don't understand the discussion. And, after a volley of about 15 emails, because that's probably usually how it's going to work out, we're trying to figure out what discussion are you talking about. After the first email, you reply back to the student, can you give me the 2-digit, the number before the discussion. So in this case, I don't understand 0.5. Okay, well, let me go back in there and look at this and see how we can help you understand it. So just a quick note on chaptering, just a great idea to use to keep the course organized. So we are going to ask you to introduce yourself. And Chris, I'm sorry, Chris, I'm going to ask you a question. This
Yeah.
kind of caught me off guard. Initial post due by Sunday and then reply due by Sunday as well. Is that a typo or did I miss something?
No, that's correct. Everything that's done. So you have an initial post. You reply to the actual prompt. Introduce yourself, play the game, and try to figure, play the game and everything else. And then talk about why you're taking this course and what you expect out of it. And then reply to 2 of your faculty members by Sunday at 11:59 p.m.
Okay. Okay. So as a point to you too, because I think this is the same Sunday we're talking about. We're not
Right.
giving a week gap.
No.
So faculty participants in this course, let's just mental note. Try to get our initial post up there maybe like by Thursday or Friday, so we have time to reply to you and we're not all scrambling at the last minute to get a response up there. And you can see the instructions here are fairly straightforward. Again, what the instructions are highlighted in blue, green here. Introduce yourself. Optionally, you could tell like 2 truths and a lie. That's always a fun game. And then why are you taking the course, and maybe what reservations or issues you might have. If when you reply to your classmates, if they participate in the game, let them know what you think is false, and then kind of follow up with maybe a dialogue that could keep us moving should we choose to continue to talk. Now, there is a grading rubric here, and it's really nice to include rubrics in all of our instruction. And that rubric, it says, look at the gear icon. So I'm scrolling back up because on the top right, there's this gear icon. We drop down and we could click on show rubric, and that will let you know the grading expectations here. All right, excuse me, I have one question.
Do you have a question?
It's a private message again. Yeah, and so Joe's asking about do you require students to access the notification on the links? So the prior page, we were talking about setting up notifications. And as we go through our course, so on our first Zoom session, I'm going to take you into one of my courses and show you my orientation unit. The short answer is essentially yes, I do require students adjust notification settings so they get notifications. And the way I do that is through my orientation module in my course. They have 3 required things they must do before they can even get out of the orientation. And one of them has to do with, setting up a certain messaging system in the course and answering questions about the syllabus and stuff. So yeah, I insist upon it. So, okay, moving out of our discussion. Again, this is something great for our students. The Online Education Initiative through the State Chancellor's Office has set up these online student readiness tutorials. It's, I think, a series of 10 videos that let students know kind of like myths about taking courses online. And, it's actually really, really hard to take an online class as a student. I had not ever in my life taken an online course until I got into Canvas and sat as a student in a Canvas course, and it was hard for me to stay organized. So these tutorials are a great tool for us to deploy to students to say, hey, is this going to be a good fit for you? Look at the videos and let us know. Also, down here, there's a nice graphic on netiquette. I don't believe, as peers and colleagues, we need to talk about netiquette, short of saying just let's be nice to each other, and we could express opinions respectfully, and that's fine. But again, for our students, this is a great graphic infograph to use, and you can use it because they opened it up for us like a commons license, and so you could paste it into your own courses as you move forward. It's a great thing to use, and I think I need to mark this one as done. So I'm going to move forward, scrolling all the way down. You can see all the netiquette stuff. Okay, so again, here's another assignment in our first orientation unit. It's creating a course outline, and I'm actually going to skip over this to hit it after we get through some of the basics of our orientation and course logistics, and we'll talk a little bit more in detail about this. But just so you know, again, this is an assignment that you will need to submit to us before the end of the week, so Sunday by 11:59 p.m. And I'm going to skip out of here. Okay, so again, let's talk about late work in this course. So late work is accepted. However, it will not be graded. So if you're running a little behind and you're not going to get the work in on time, you're not going to earn points for that assignment. And there is a minimum course standard that we're going to look at as I scroll down. However, if you do not submit work in this course, you cannot move forward in this course. So as I mentioned, we have set up some prerequisites and requirements for assignments. So without completing the orientation unit discussion and the orientation unit first assignment, which is an outline, if you do not complete those and do not submit them, you will not be able to move on to the first unit of course content. So you know, they say better late than never. Well, here it's you got to turn it in late or you'll never get into the next unit of instruction. Now, I don't know if Chris is going to like hearing this, but what I've told folks in the first session is turn something in before the due date. Okay, it may not be the highest caliber. It may not be what you believe is work, you know, to your level of your self expectations, but get it in, and I'll grade it. It may not be a perfect grade, but we're here to make revisions. We're here to learn, and you know, better get it in now, and then you could start looking at the next unit work rather than just kind of procrastinate, and then before you know it, you know, time has passed, and we're looking at, well, no work is being done, so we're going to drop you from the course, which is the last sentence in this nugget. If you don't participate in the course for 2 weeks, we're going to go ahead and drop you from the course and try to find you know, a course that works better for your schedule. So again, do the work on time, get it submitted. If you're late, okay, you're late, but still turn in the work so you can move on in the course and get the work done and get out of this course and then get into a course for the future.
Real quickly, I want to make note too. You do have the opportunity to work ahead in this course, 1 unit ahead from the current unit that we are on. So for example, the getting started orientation, and when Michael will go to the modules section to explain this later on, in the module section, the getting started orientation and then unit 1, introduction to Canvas, they're kind of like 1 unit broken up into 2 parts. If you complete that content this week, if you complete it early, let's say you start today and let's say you get finished by Wednesday, and Michael grades the content, as soon as he grades it, you can move on to unit 2 and work on unit 2, but Michael will not grade unit 2 until unit 2 officially begins, which is on Monday. So you do have an opportunity to work ahead as well, if that's going to help you work through and get through the fall semester.
Okay, yeah, thank you for clarifying. And just to piggyback on that, as Chris noted, I need to grade your work before you can move forward. So I admire your desire to move forward, and I will do my best to help you fulfill your desire to move forward. I just ask that you understand I am teaching a full load right now and about to start a 8-week class in 2 weeks. So bear with me, or again, communication, just send me a message. Hey, I'd like to get into the next unit. I'm going to submit this work for the current unit, you know, today or tomorrow. Can you please look at it so I can move forward? And again, I'm going to do everything I can to help you out, even if it means missing Jeopardy one night. I'll stop Jeopardy just so I can help you. So, but let's just communicate, and chances are everything's going to happen. Bookmarking account, if you don't have one already, like set one up, and this is a good way to save some links and URLs that you might pick up within the course to help you learn a little bit more or just retain information that you might want to have for the future. Grading in the course. So there is a pass point. It's 80% to pass the course and receive a certificate of completion. There's 3 broad categories of assignments that we do in this course. We have quizzes, hands-on exercises, and the discussions that we participate in. And you could see the weighted value of each of them in here. Lastly, we have our final project, and that's weighted a little bit higher at 100 points in the course, and that's at the end. As we move forward, if you want to check, we have a grade book in the course, and you can check your grades as needed. There's a neat feature that we'll look at when we get to the grade part of the course, but there's like a what if feature. So if you're curious about, okay, what do I need to do to walk out of here with this 80%, you can start popping in grades for each assignment, and you can see what is it going to take to get to that 80%. So kind of a neat feature there. There was a point I was going to make about this, kind of slipped my mind. Okay, so again, tutorial video series. So this is a Canvas produced video about grades. Canvas doesn't use YouTube too much. They use it a little bit. They use more like Vimeo or Vimeo. I don't know how you pronounce it, but they have a very robust video library, and it's good for me and it's good for you. Early on in Canvas, when I was learning how to use Canvas, I'm up pretty early in the morning on an elliptical. So I would sit there with my iPad just going through the Canvas video library on Vimeo. I learned quite a bit of information, and it's a real good tool. Okay, I'm marking as done. Moving forward in our first unit here. Okay, so we're out of the orientation unit as a student, kind of giving you an overview of what was expected. And now I'm going to go back out of here as I'm leaving the student view, going back into the instructor view, and then I'm going back into our first module, which is Introduction to Canvas. So we can look at, where are we at here? Our first assignment, our graded discussion. All right. So before I even actually talk about this, I want us to look at this left course sidebar. So we have our purple global navigation sidebar, but then within each course, we have our course navigation bar, okay? And I'm kind of like looping around with my mouse. It's on the left-hand side, starts with the word home. And actually, I'll go above the word home to our 3 horizontal lines. We call that the Canvas hamburger. It actually collapses that sidebar. So I'm going to click on it once, and you'll see the course navigation bar disappears, and it allows for more room on our screen. I click on it again, the course navigation bar shows up. Now you should be able to see the contrast here, starting with home, announcements, syllabus, modules, grades, and people. These are kind of, the font color is darker on our screen, like a darker gray. And then you could see these, starting with conferences, going down to the word discussions, it's muted, it's a light color. Well, what we do behind the scenes is we are telling Canvas only shows students the darker colored items. And again, as we move through the class, what we're finding through our practices here, our best practices, is we really want to start directing traffic in our courses. We do not want the students to kind of, go down that rabbit hole like they might when they start doing searching in Google. I do it all the time. You see a link that looks interesting, you start like going, and 15, 20 mouse clicks later, you're in La La Land. We don't want to do that here in our courses. Students get distracted very easily. So we direct traffic by giving students only certain options to get into the course and navigate around. And as you can see, the things I have emboldened right now, home, announcements, syllabus, modules, grades, okay, those are like, that's really all we want to see in your courses as well, and it'll make more sense as we move forward. but this is kind of like where we want you to be. Now, can you change the titles here? No, you cannot. Canvas pre-populates this. Our district IT folks, our distance ed team, they've agreed that these are the ones we want. You cannot change them. So we have to, make our courses work to what we have available, okay? So that's our course navigation part. So I'm gonna click back to home, and it's going to take us back to the front here. And then I'm going to go, like I said, I'm going to take us into that first assignment that we have beyond the discussion, so we make sure we understand what it is we're needing to do. And then we're actually going to look at our unit 1 and see what's expected there. So I'm doing it, this is kind of like a slow way to do this, but I figured I'd just get you used to clicking next. We already have participation in our discussion. Thank you. And here's our first assignment. Create a course outline, okay? So this is a Canvas assignment, creating a course outline. So as we mentioned, the final project in this course is create 2 content units or 2 modules. So we're asking right at the beginning, tell us what the final is going to look like through your outline. And I think most of us, through our prior instruction, whether it's face-to-face or online, we should have kind of a nice look at what our content units look like already. And when I'm talking about a content unit, synonymous words, week. So what are 2 weeks going to look like in your course? What are 2, like or themed areas going to look like? I know we're working in different disciplines and we all set up our courses a little different, but what I've seen is, a good way to handle this is, what are we doing from week 1 to week 2, 2 to 3, so on and so forth? Or, again, by themes, maybe if you're working like in a chemistry or biology, you have like these topics, a topical area that the course is divided into, so you have 16 or 17 topical areas that they can look at. But that's what we need to see here. So again, it's going to be due next Sunday, so I think that's 6 days from today. We have an overview of what we're doing, instructions. Using Microsoft Word or like a similar word processing tool, you're going to create an outline for the for your course for the first 2 weeks, or for 2 weeks of content, or 2 content units. I apologize if I'm confusing words. And what we've done here is we provided you with an example of what it is we're looking for. So a really good thing to do in our online classes is to have an orientation unit, a 0 unit as we'll call it. And this is no different than in a face-to-face course, that maybe that first hour or the first day or the first half of a 3-hour class. What does the student need to know about this course to be successful? And that's our orientation unit. So you can see, just like we ran through with you, there are 8 kind of topical areas within this getting started orientation unit. The first one is a welcome message. And to make it even easier for us to understand, in parentheses, what should the student be doing in the welcome part of the course? For our purposes, what it was they had to read a message from us, okay? Just like we had to read a message under Meet the Facilitators, face-to-face calendar for our Canvas labs. The note about notifications was all about reading. There was no doing here, no action needed. But once we get to our discussion, our first one, this is a graded discussion that the student needs to complete. And that differs from something they just need to read. So another example that we use here is 0.7. We make a note in parentheses. This is a graded assignment. Okay, so it clarifies for me and for your students, what exactly is, create a course outline. What is the outcome? Well, it's a graded assignment. Okay, so that's going to help us understand that. Then the next unit for this course, Introduction to Teaching Canvas, Unit 1, you could see, again, our chaptering has changed. The first one corresponds to the unit number, and then the second one after the decimal or the period that one will correspond to a sequence. Where does it fall within the unit, moving through sequentially. And then, so the first area, the first page, is an overview, and all the students needs to do there is read. And we go through to 1.4, and we have a graded assignment. 1.5, a graded assignment. 1.6, a little different. We have a graded quiz. It might be a graded test for you. Then going down, another graded assignment, and then we're into the read function. Okay, so this is due this week, and again, this is the foundation for what we'll hopefully see at the end of the term, the 5-week course. Now, can this change as you move along? Absolutely. If you start working in this 5-week Intro to Canvas course and you start to see, like, you're going to see some functionality in Canvas I don't think you're expecting, and it's a nice thing. You're saying, wow, I want to change how I'm doing business here. We can modify this outline, and you could resend it to me. That I'm all about that. So you're not like locked into it, but this week we definitely want to see what it is you're planning on doing, because if you send me something that isn't going to meet the needs of the final project and is going to maybe create some extra work for you, we want to address that very early on so you're not doing unnecessary work during the course, okay? Any questions about this part of it? I will send these back to you if it doesn't look quite right. So we want to make sure we're all on the same page. Again, no surprises as we move through the course. And I'm not seeing anything. Okay, so again, the nice thing, how do I submit an assignment in Canvas? First thing you're going to do is you're going to save your work, right? Because you're creating this outline in a PDF or a doc or a docx format, and then you'll save it on your computer, and then you will submit the assignment and upload to the course. And I'm on the bottom left here, and you can see I highlighted it says file types. This is another nice feature in Canvas. We're restricting the file types to doc, docx, and PDF, and you could do that with your students as well. And then again, scrolling down, there is a rubric in the course, and I'm going to highlight the title of the rubric. And here's the expectations. For full credit, you'll get 4 points. If you are missing an element for 3 points, you'll lose a point, and I'll send it back to you, and you could fix it to get back to that 4. Or if you don't submit it, you'll receive 0 points on this assignment, okay? All right, so I'm looking over at my outline, and I think we're gonna go into Unit 1 now, and just look over, again, how we're gonna use Unit 1. So I'm going back to our home page, and I'm going to go into Unit 1. So I'm down here on the blue links, Unit 1, Introduction to Teaching with Canvas. Another way I could get there is by clicking on the green button that says Modules. And this is a module in the course. And I'm going to expand Unit 1. And I'm going to go into, again, Overview, Read. Okay, so again, a best practice is every unit should start with an overview of what the student is going to experience moving through the unit and what are the outcomes or objectives for that unit. So you can see again, we're trying to practice what we preach here, and we've outlined, okay, this is what we're going to do. How do we begin the unit? Well, we click on our next button. And admittedly, this first 6 days, there's a lot to do. We're getting through 2 units of work in one week. So, it'll kind of calm down a little bit. It's still work to be done, but there's a lot of steps to go through for this first 6 days, starting in the 0 unit, the orientation unit, and then coming into Unit 1. So I'm clicking into the next part of the course, which is Canvas Lab Reminder. And that's, again, Friday the 6th, we'll have our next Zoom meeting. And then instructional content. Okay, so this is what you'll need to read to kind of give you some background on the assignments and expectations for this unit. So at the top here, we have our title, 1.3 instructional content. You're going to read that. But then from here, we have 4 tabs right below that, 4 tabs that you need to go into, and there's information to read on each page. So what is Canvas? And it gives us an overview. Then clicking on Canvas from the student view. And again, all these links that we're providing for you, these are items you might want to bookmark or use later on as you set up your courses. Okay, these are some great tools. I'm going to click over on the next tab, Canvas from the instructor view. And again, as I look down here past the third heading, Canvas Guides, if I click here, go to the Canvas Getting Started Guide, that's a tool Canvas gives us. Okay, this is how we use Canvas. I think this video's, is it about 30 minutes, Chris?
That's a whole link. One thing I want to say about the instructional content section, as this is your required reading. You can read every tab, but don't feel like you have to read every specific link on the page. A lot of feedback that we get from this course is the amount of reading and the work that you actually do. Actually, the reading isn't a lot for you to take on. The issue is when instructors, and Michael, if you could go ahead and click on that Canvas Instructor Getting Started Guide. It brings you to a new tab, and instructors in the past have felt like as you scroll down, they feel like they have to review every single piece of information that's on this screen right now. Watch the videos, watch the links, and it gets way too overwhelming for them. You don't have to review and read through in detail every single link. Just click on those tabs, review what's in those tabs, and then just bookmark stuff that you might find relevant that will help you complete and submit the hands-on assignments and then the final project at the end.
Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, don't want to overwhelm you, but also we want you to understand there are a lot of resources available for you and for the students. So take what you need, right? Take what you need. Okay, and then the last one, the rich content editor. The rich content editor is essentially the word processing tool within Canvas, which is really, it's a really good tool. As a suggestion, and this is something I tell my students, for our discussions, for any written work you're going to do in this course, create a Word file or a Google Doc where you are drafting all of your work inside of Canvas. So, get the discussion prompt from Canvas, take it out to your Word doc or your Google Doc, type it, modify it, edit it, do whatever you're going to do in your Google Doc, and then copy and paste it back into Canvas. I have had a couple instances of students losing work. They say they develop it in Canvas, they hit submit, and it disappears. Whether they're telling the truth, I don't know. But I do tell them, hey, if you can demonstrate you had that available in a Word or a Google Doc, they'll get credit for it. And then it alleviates a lot of frustration for everybody. So again, just a tip, you might want to create a third-party doc to edit your work for this course as well. Okay, so you read through all that information, and I'm going to go back to the front, and this is another one. I'm in the instructor view, so I don't have to click that mark as done button. I'm just going to instead click on next to get us into a graded assignment. All right, a graded assignment. And the first graded assignment we're doing is changing your user profile in Canvas, which is, I think, a nice segue for me to take you into my profile and just quickly show you that notification changes you can make. So the instructions here are, I think, pretty clear on how to do this. So what I'm going to do is go all the way to the left to the global navigation. I'm going to click on my nose over here on my picture, and it's going to take me into my profile and settings specific to me. So this is where you'll change your profile per the instructions here. But again, I'm going to take you to this notifications tab, and I'm going to click on that. And this is how you change your notifications, like how frequently you want to be notified about a pending due date. Course content changes, an announcement that was deployed, whatever it may be. And this is what you want your students to do as well. So, as you settle in, make sure you're changing these notifications. I, right now, have changed, I'm not getting a lot of notifications, quite honestly, because I think I have, I'm working with like 180 or maybe close to 200 students, and it was just getting pretty overwhelming to I was getting a lot of messages, and I have a different way I could manage, the incoming messages. But our students, it's a nice thing for them to have, and to be able to modify. And again, for our course, maybe you want to, just kind of play with it a little bit and say, hey, send me the due dates to my email. Again, you can set it up so you're sending it to a text message. So maybe you have a Google Voice account, and you could set it up that way or something like that. So that's a good way to work this tool. Okay, so from there, notifications, I'm going back into our course, and I'm going to do this one a little differently. Global navigation, scrolling down in courses to our course, back into modules, unit 1, and I stopped at our editing profile. Now I'm going to go into the next assignment, which is adding an announcement to your course. So you'll need to create an announcement for your course. And when I say for your course, I'm going to highlight here the Canvas training course that Chris set up for you. So the goal here at the final project, 2 content units that you can use in your actual course, something you will actually teach. However, all the work for our Canvas course, Intro to Teaching with Canvas, needs to be done right in this Canvas training sandbox. At the end, once you're done with your final project, I'm going to show you how to move content from the Canvas training sandbox into your actual course. It'll take less than 10 minutes. It's very, very quick, probably less than 5 minutes actually. So here's an issue we run into with this one. One, faculty are editing and doing course assignments in one of their course containers. So if you teach in Spanish, they're creating all the work in the Spanish container. I cannot look at the Spanish container. So they'll send me the assignment using a URL, and I go to access it or click it, and I'm blocked out. So I have to ask them, hey, can you put it in the training sandbox? So that's the first issue. And then another issue we run into is they're setting it up in the Canvas training sandbox, but they're not sending the proper URL to me. That's how I access your assignments a lot of the times, is through a URL you send me from your training sandbox course. So I'd ask that you just double read some of the instructions for these assignments to make sure you're sending me the proper URL. Otherwise, again, we're going to end up in a scenario where we're sending emails back and forth so I could look at your work.
Okay. Can I step in here real quick?
Yeah. Yep.
If you can scroll all the way down to the bottom to the actual rubric.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't put it in. I didn't put it in there.
The URL.
Yeah, no. I meant to put it in for this rubric. So I want to make it clear. So if you scroll up a little bit, and then in the assignment. So in the video, I create these hands-on videos that I show you step by step on how to submit the assignment correctly. So I recommend when you get to these assignments, when you start doing the the 1.4 added profile, and then you start doing these add announcement assignments, watch the video first on first run, but don't follow along. Take notes. And then on the second and third run, or even maybe the third run, you can actually sit there and follow through and do what actually it says. For the policy, I'm going to make it clear. Any incorrect URL submissions that Michael receives automatically will receive a 0. Michael's going to ask you to resubmit the assignment with the correct URL address by the deadline date, which is usually Sunday by 11:59 p.m. If you do that, he will regrade the assignment and give you full, the maximum points possible for your assignment. If he does not receive the correct URL address, he's going to make only one announcement. And if he doesn't receive the correct URL address for the assignment and it's past the due date, then that 0 will stand. So please make sure, submit your URLs correctly. And if you ever need confirmation, you can send a message to Michael and I before you make your submit your assignment saying, hey, Chris, hey, Michael, I'm about to submit my add announcement assignment. Is this the correct URL address? And we'll check it for you to make sure you're doing the correct submission. So just want to make sure you're very clear. Incorrect URL submissions will receive a 0 unless corrected before the deadline date.
Thank you. So we're going to click into our next and move into the next. It's a graded quiz. So this quiz is you take it on your own and Canvas will grade it for us. Pretty straightforward on material you've covered in this unit. So usually it comes out of the reading material, okay? And then our discussion that we're looking at again, this is for Unit 1. Again, as a request, what I like my students to do with their discussions is basically they copy the prompts and they include them back in their reply. So we can all kind of quickly pick out and see what we're looking at and specifically what we're reading. Now, I understand maybe your response will kind of blend the prompts together, and if that's the case, so be it. But if you are going to respond in a manner where you're responding directly, bullet 1, bullet 2, bullet 3, again, I'd ask that you include these prompts in your response so I know and our classmates know specifically what it is you're replying to. And let's see, clicking through. And then, again, another best practice. We're at the end of this Unit 1. Well, what did you do? Okay, and that's what we want our students to think about, and why does it matter? What did you do and why does it matter? So they'll look at this and see, hey, we're at the end, okay? And then lastly, clicking through one more time, where are we at? We're back into Unit 2, which you will not have access to until you complete Unit 0, Unit 1, and then I've graded the materials if we're moving ahead, okay? So I think I'm double checking my notes. All right, Chris clarified some points. I think we're at a point where we're good to get started. I've covered everything I need to cover. I'm gonna probably hand this back to Chris, but I'm gonna unmute us all right now. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask, now's a really good time to do it. So I'm unmuting everybody. You should be able to talk. Let me see here. Let's see here. All right. Let me see here.
Judith and Wendy are still muted.
Yeah, for some reason I can't unmute them. I don't know if they're. Oh, here we go. There we go. No, that's okay. Here we go. For some reason, I can't unmute Wendy.
Why don't you give me the host and I'll see if
okay. And I'm going to let Chris be the host. Yes. Okay. So are there any questions at this point that you want to ask? What questions do you have? Joe, you're good?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, good. Judith, you're good?
I am, thanks.
Wonderful. Sharon? And Wendy, are you okay? You have any questions?
I think I'm good.
All right.
Let me, one thing I want to do before we take off is I want to actually go through that conversations inbox that Michael didn't go. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So for all communication, when we're talking, we're going to be doing it through the conversations inbox. So anytime you have a question about Canvas, you have a question about the course itself, or you want to let Michael know about your schedule, maybe communicate, work things out as far as your projects are concerned, you can click on the inbox and you can see all your messages. I didn't want Michael to go in there and show this because he would show all the student messages, and we want to protect students' privacy. So, but as you can see all the instructors that I've talked to as far as the course is concerned. But if you want to send a message to Michael or anybody else in the course, you can go ahead and click on this leaf button, composing a message. And then you're going to select the actual course. And the course that we're actually in is the CTF3 course. And then to type your message out, you just type in Michael's name correctly, select his name, and then you can type your message. And then content. And then he will get it. The nice thing about this is it not only goes to your Canvas account, but Mike will also receive an email also regarding this. So if I were to send this, he could go into his email inbox, whether it's Outlook, email, or whatever, and then reply to it, and then I'll get it back directly in my Canvas account. So it's a great way to communicate. So throughout the duration of this course, let's use this as our form of communication. And the nice thing about it too is with your course, you don't have to give your email address out to your students anymore. You can just use your conversations inbox. Canvas is very protective about privacy rights, FERPA regulations. Nobody ever sees your email address. Students don't see their email addresses as well. So I encourage you to use this tool for communication if you have any questions regarding the course directed towards Michael. But
thank you.
Other than that, I think we've covered everything. So I probably will reiterate one last time the actual schedule just to make sure that we are good. I'm actually going to go to the calendar myself. I'm going to turn off mine. So as we can see, our orientation started today and then started today on Monday the 2nd. Friday, Michael, I won't be joining this one, but Friday will be, Michael will be conducting the Unit 1 where we're talking about Unit 1 and the Getting Started orientation. Any questions about the outline? Any questions regarding Unit 1? And then Michael's going to prepare you for Unit 2 next week. And then all of your assignments, everything that we've talked about today that Michael went over is going to be due by this Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So at least you have the weekend to get in and do your actual work. So hopefully that makes sense. And then you can see the rest of the schedule that way. So if there are no other questions, we thank you for joining us. We look forward to working with you, and we want to make sure we'll do everything in our power to get you set up for the fall semester.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Looking forward to seeing you again on Friday.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks.
All right, take care. I am going to stop recording.